Hello everybody, this is Craig from 9 Volt Games, and I look tired. So, today I'm going to do a review for, you can read, Detroit Become Human. Now, David Cage games I got a love-hate relationship with. I actually said that I would do a top 10, like, worst to best. Even though I don't truly believe his games are terrible, some of the execution of it I think are awful. And let me get this shit out of the way right now, because some people, you younger people, hold on. Yeah. I just woke up, and I had a shitty sick weekend. So anyways, some of you younger people will call games like Detroit Become Human, or you know, pretty much like an interactive movie, or a walking simulator, and they're not really a walking simulator. I did see that one. I thought that was ignorant and stupid. Walking simulators are games like Gone Home, or my personal favorite, like one of my favorite things. I'll promote this anytime I get a chance to. One of my favorite things out there on anything is What Remains of Edith Finch. But yeah, just a shameless plug for that game. Right? So before I start this review, Detroit Become Human is really just an evolved version of a point-and-click adventure. Because I played games on PC back in the early 90s, and a majority of what they had available was point-and-click adventures. And that's really what it is. You look around the environment, you click on something, you basically use it to make a choice, and then you go into the next area. Or you use that in another area in the game. And that's essentially what it is. Detroit Become Human actually has a lot of that in it, with you looking around an environment, finding something, picking it up, you know. So this isn't part of the review, just to set some of you youngsters straight. This is essentially, these games are evolved fucking point-and-click adventures. Alright, so, also, before I start the review, I got two friends. I have channels. Hector and Nicholas, and they do fighting games, alright? Like, they actually, like, they do it. They go to tournaments and shit. They do their actual thing. And they play Street Fighter, so I know people like Gary on here are looking, you know, for Street Fighter people. They have channels, they do streams. You can go on and watch them. I'll put the links below. I told them I'd give them a shout out because, honestly, I can't do the fighting game thing. And they actually put in the work, so you might want to actually watch them if you want to learn how to, you know, actually be good, instead of coming here and watching a guy who just drinks and plays Mortal Kombat. Alright, so, right in the review. Detroit Become Human. As far as David Cage games go, I think it's the best. I hit my 4K TV right there with my coffee cup. And I'm so concerned, like, on the inside. Oh, hit it right with the handle really hard. As far as David Cage games go, I think Detroit Become Human is the best. And actually, I mean, it's not like a surprise that it's become the best. It's actually, their games have evolved over time. Although I think Heavy Rain is actually bottom of the barrel. I think by the end of this review, I'm not even going to have to do a worst to best. I think Heavy Rain is the bottom. Not necessarily a bad game. It's just the evolution in his tactics. I mean, this guy wants to be a filmmaker, but he also likes making point-and-click games, essentially. Or interactive movies. Assholes. It's gone more than that, and I feel like Heavy Rain was more of a step back. Whereas, like, Indigo Prophecy or Fahrenheit, depending on where you live, that one had a lot. I think that one actually had the most gameplay in it. And they did, I mean, almost the entire game is a QTE. But my neighbor's out. She's talking to her cats. But anyways. Yeah, I feel like Indigo Prophecy had the most gameplay in it. And then it's gone down from there. And then Detroit Become Human actually brought it back up. So, Heavy Rain kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because I feel like everything about it was great. There were some, like, facepalm-worthy parts, I guess. But what happens is the acting was cringe-worthy. David Cage is not American, all right? So, it's understandable that, you know, I believe he's French, so he's going to want to use, you know, French voice actors to support, you know, your people. But the problem is when you have supposed to have like a hard-boiled New York or Chicago detective. Don't use a French actor who can't pull off an American accent because it goes horrible. And that's what happened in Heavy Rain. And they fixed that in Detroit Become Human. All right? Not saying that they had to, whitewash everything or whatever, or Americanize everything. But the game's called Detroit. So you should use some, at least American voice actors, or a voice actor who can pull off an American accent. And this one nailed it. Now, I know Beyond Two Souls had that. Beyond Two Souls had some incredible star power. It had Ellen Page and it had Willem Dafoe, among other people. But the problem was, I think the story in Beyond Two Souls was kind of meh. It didn't grab me as much as the other games. So, I mean, I would probably put Beyond Two Souls as right above Heavy Rain. See, this is gonna double as a worst to best. But Detroit Become Human actually has reminded me a lot more of Indigo Prophecy, where Indigo Prophecy would go above Beyond Two Souls. Detroit Become Human actually took everything that I loved about all the previous David Cage games and it smashed them together while trimming away the things that were nuances to me. The one thing that they can never get, for some reason, accurate, and I know it's not me, I lose my mind at every one of these. Sometimes you'll be watching a video and then it goes into a QTE battle. And if you fuck up, that's your fault because that's what the entire game is. But sometimes you'll be in it and it'll be like square, triangle, X, circle, L2, R2, L1, R2. And you'll hit all the buttons, because it's become second nature as you're playing these games. It's not really difficult. It's just whether you want to actually see what happens if you fail in that moment or if you pass. And this one has so many hooks compared to the other games, but we'll get to that later. Sometimes I'm doing it, and I'll hit a button and it won't register. That happened to me multiple times throughout the game. And I mean, like, I play games a lot. I have this channel and I've been doing it for 10 years and I've been gaming for 30 years. Sometimes I make mistakes, but not this amount of mistakes. Some of the buttons didn't register. And then my other complaint is that their action stick is tethered to the camera stick. So sometimes you'll be walking up to something and it'll want you to do the quarter circle motion to like open a door. But when you go to do the quarter circle motion, your character will look. Even though the prompt is right there, your character will look off to the side. And I mean, it sounds like, a simple complaint, but it happens over and over and over again and kind of gets annoying. So like if you're in a high intense scene and you're running and you need to open a door and it's not like an instant X or square prompt, but it is a quarter circle, and there's one point where you're trying to hide from somebody and you have to do that to open a door. And the camera swings, I found myself like it taking me out of the immersion of the game, stopping in front of a door, making sure the camera was aligned, and then quarter circling to do it. And it should be something that's done in a fluid motion. I know that's why they did it with the camera stick, but I think that it couldn't have hurt to, It's not like you had to do like a full 3D swing of the camera either, because we have a button map to that, which is another thing I liked about that game. So they offset the pro with the con. While the camera was actually obnoxious, there was one part about the camera that was phenomenal. The fact that you're an android means you get to scan your environment. So I'm not going to talk about the story in here at all, by the way. Let's do this. Let's just get this out of the way. I'm not telling you anything. I started to stream it, and I realized it was a horrible mistake. I want everybody to enjoy this game. I want you to play it completely different than I did. I'm going to go back and I'm going to play it again. I'm sure when my wife is playing it, she's playing it completely different than I am. You need to experience this game by yourself. I'm not giving away any story spoilers. I'm not giving away any fucking spoilers for this game. But I will say this. A whole lot of Blade Runner, and apparently a whole lot of Westworld. I don't watch it, but apparently it's a whole lot of Westworld. But it is an awesome, awesome, awesome story. And I mean, obviously we don't know what the future will hold, but high probability, definitely, of what's the nightmare scenario in the back of your head with future technology. So it's seriously, check it out. I can't stress that enough. And play it by yourself. Don't watch other people play it. It's not fun. It's not fun to watch a movie that was meant to be making choices in, and you don't make the choices yourself. So, anyways, back to it. Being an android, you get the camera swing, and that helps you scan all your environments, which in the past in these games you had to walk around and you know, individually look at things. In this one, as long as you're close enough to it, you go into your hyper scan mode and it shows you like wireframes of the entire building and all that shit, and it shows you where things are, and then you can make your choices based on that. So that was pretty cool. Choice is a huge part of this one. I felt like even like with Heavy Rain, you know, you could make a lot of choices to dictate how there's certain character interactions and what happens with the characters, but it all inevitably ended with like one of two endings. This one I know has 3 solid endings, right? So, but what happens is in between those, it has and the further you go in the game, it has so many endings. So like, you know, you'll do the first or second chapter, or the first chapter I believe has like 3 or 4 endings, and it'll show you that at the end, and it'll show you which path you took, and then it's called the flow chart, and then it'll show you which paths you could have taken. So then it's your job, if you want to, for the replay value, to go back and then take those other paths you didn't take, and then you can choose to have them affect your entire game, or you can just do that in segments all the way to the end of the game. And I think that's pretty cool, because that means if you wanted to go back and change something, you know, from the midway point, you don't need to go back and play the entire game. You can start from that area and have it change the game forward. I think that's pretty cool. So say like you missed a key item that you think might have helped you down the line, you can go back to that area, grab that key item, and then start it back from there. That's one huge like service they did to fans of the previous game. But as your first playthrough, don't change anything, obviously. Your first playthrough, this is where this game gets major points for me, and this is the last point I'm gonna bring, because there's other things I can say about it. It looks gorgeous, but obviously it's gonna look gorgeous. It's a cinematic heavy game. It has to be gorgeous. It has to be gorgeous. This doesn't have the gameplay to back it up. You know, don't come in here expecting a run and gun game. Don't come in here expecting like hardcore action. It is a point and click adventure, and yes, it is an interactive movie, because that's what it is. But it's probably one of the greatest choose your own adventures of all time. I would highly recommend it to everybody. And there's points where it's, you know, exploratory, but then there's points where it's fucking fast paced and you need to make a decision, which leads me to my closing point here. In a post Telltale's Walking Dead world, okay, I feel like these games will do much better, and I feel like the success you're seeing out of this game is piggybacked off of the Telltale Walking Dead like post world, where people are more accepting of these games where it's pretty much just fully scripted, and you know, you're given an area you get to walk around in, you don't get to do much, but you get to make choices, and it impacts the characters around you and yourself if you're investing yourself in the characters. And I think David Cage's games will become more accepted, whereas before they were pretty good, but Detroit is like huge. You know, everybody playing Detroit, I haven't seen one person fucking badmouth it. And it's hard to, especially if you know what you're getting into. If you don't know what you're getting into, well, then they're stupid. But if you know what you're getting into, it's great. I think this, I'm sorry, I liked Walking Dead, obviously. I have a really tight, or used to have a really tight relationship with Telltale. Sorry, guys. Detroit Become Human just did it better. You know, where all these games, they say, oh, you know, make your choices and shape the future. Same with, like, Life is Strange and shit. I've never felt instant regret making a choice in a game and then having another character go, you know what I mean? I've never had like that. It feels like a real life conversation that you're having with somebody, you know, and you say something fucked up and they instantly get mad at you. That's what this game does to you, and it saves right after you do it. So it's not like you can go back and take back that decision. I mean, you can in the way that I told you, but you know, if you're playing it through honestly, you're going to have an awesome experience. And I suggest this for everybody, and I kept it within 15 minutes. Check out my friends' channels, Nicholas and Hector, right down below. Thank you guys for watching.